The Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 7, the season finale, is in the books. It is the last episode of the season. It's all come down to this, the showdown between Boba's forces and the Pikes. And it ends up starting off as being sort of a big war, and it winds up being not so big because, well, Boba had some people turn on him, and that's just how it is. The question, of course, coming out of this is, were they able to successfully do what they want, or what we wanted them to do, and that's stick the landing? And I think the answer is yes and no. I think the foreshadowing earlier in the season did lead up to some pretty interesting stuff, like, for example, the Rancor, which I had a feeling was going to appear in this episode, and lo and behold, there he was, and the Rancor did make a difference, tearing up those giant-sized destroyer droids. And that was cool. That was a cool moment. But I feel like if the question is, did episode 7 of Book of Boba Fett like stick the landing? And the answer is somewhat. I think it did to a degree. I think it did wrap up the story on Tatooine, and it also wrapped up a lot of the backstory between Boba and Bad Kane, which was surprising but cool. But I think ultimately the problem that not only this episode proved, but the last couple weeks of episodes, is that people care much more about Din Djarin than they do Boba Fett, and this episode didn't do Boba that many favors. Yes, him having the showdown with Cad Bane was cool. That was a great like Western tribute. You know, the duel there, the standoff, as they call it. That was great stuff. And having Cad Bane reference the past, you know, that's stuff that only people from the Filoni-verse or who have been watching the anime and Star Wars is going to really understand. You know, Filoni came in with Favreau, and when he came in, we started seeing more and more of his characters. You know, Ahsoka Tano was appearing. We saw various other characters. Ahsoka was like the big one, because we all know Filoni's like most prized possession seems to be is Ahsoka Tano. But so the issue I had, and this is not a huge criticism, but it's not a criticism about the execution of the episode. I think Robert Rodriguez directed the action scenes and the shootouts to be fun. It was a big shootout. It was what we were expecting. I feel like Mandalorian Season 1 had like 4 of these in a row, though, if I'm being honest. I don't want to compare, but it's a natural comparison. This is a much slower burn. And by the way, I should mention that I will be doing a season review probably this weekend, maybe sooner than that, here on the channel. So look forward to that. We're going to go over the whole season and what I thought of it. But one of the things that came out of this was Din Djarin and Boba Fett working together. Like, that was cool, but I felt like Boba Fett needs to stand on his own 2 feet. Din Djarin being there, it's kind of like that old philosophy of you can't get a new top guy to be accepted by the fans until the old top guy goes away. Now, obviously, I don't want Din Djarin to be written out. I liked him being here, and he provided 2 of the best episodes of the whole season, episodes 5 and 6. And to me, those are still the 2 best episodes. This did not change that. This is probably the 3rd best episode, though. But I feel like the situation is that as long as Din Djarin is there, it's going to take a little bit away from Boba. Boba can't really be that, that badass. And then, honestly, I feel like they could have done it here. They had a chance to, but what they did was just not enough. Yes, Boba was a badass throughout some of the episode. Him getting betrayed constantly, I think the way they wrote that was to kind of get more sympathy for Boba Fett from the audience, to kind of stack that against him. But I don't think it worked here. I think the issues that the Pikes army just wasn't that big. Yes, those 2 destroyer droids were terrifying in size, but it just wasn't that big. And also, if you have been following the show, you knew he had the Rancor in his back pocket. So it wasn't like it's bad. Again, I'm not over here saying that it was a bad episode. It just, to me, it wasn't effective in getting me to look forward to a second season. If anything, what this show has done, purely based on the last 3 episodes, is that it makes me want to see The Mandalorian season 3 even more. Like, it hasn't made me want to watch more Boba. Quite the contrary. Like, Tamora Morrison, I think, deserves more chances to play this character with maybe some more skillful writing, maybe some more, maybe some more thought put into it. And I'm not saying that Jon Favreau didn't put thought into it. It just didn't work for me. Whereas, I want to see Mando season 3 more now. especially with the fact that Grogu did make the decision to join up with Mando here, and he had his moments as well. Helping out using the Force a couple times. He put the Rancor to sleep when it was rampaging. That was a cool little thing. I like that. And then of course they fly off together. And I like how they really are kind of establishing that Grogu is basically Mando's son. I do wonder if they changed directions with this show, because it really seemed like Mando season two's finale was leading into season 3 of Mando being a separate storyline and not really involving Grogu. But it looks like Grogu's with Mando now. Now that he finally gave the child over to the Jedi, you would think that would be the end of that story arc, but there's more. So they wrote around that. No Luke. R2 did make a cameo. There were rumors that Han Solo would be in this episode, and I never believed them, especially after the first few episodes of this show aired, because with Luke at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, it was very much a surprise. There was no leaks about that. Everything was kept a secret, and it was executed masterfully. You don't want to do that again. It's not going to have the same impact, and there's no point in Han Solo being there involved in this scrimmage. He has no real tie-ins to Tatooine. Luke does, but I'm not sure if... I don't think Han Solo does, except for the times that he was there. Obviously his tie-ins with Jabba and things that happen in Tatooine in the Solo film, but I don't think that's enough to really warrant him getting a cameo appearance here, and it's not really going to push the storyline any further. There's people out there who still believe the bullshit that they're retconning the sequel trilogy. I just don't understand how... I don't get how people can still think that. There's so much evidence now pointing to this. People were ahaing last week because they were saying that Grogu is Luke's number one student, and in the films it was Ben Solo. Well, guess what? It's going to be Ben Solo. Again, we could get some more twists and turns on this, but it's still going to be Ben Solo as his number one student. Look, I don't like the sequel trilogy. I've said it before a billion times. I was one of the first guys on YouTube to trash The Last Jedi when everyone else was talking about how great it was out of Hollywood. I hated it. But I can tell you that they're not going to retcon it. People need to give that up. They really need to give that up, dude. It was a fake story put out by fake people who were trying to get your clicks. It's fake. It's always been fake. They're not retconning the sequel trilogy. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It is a fake. It is literally a fake, made-up story. It's not happening. Especially not with Kathleen Kennedy still being there. It's just not going to happen. I don't think she cares that much about it, but with the legacy of Leia, but I don't want to talk about that. That's a separate topic. We'll do a different video about that. It's not going to happen, bro. Mando is going to be with the child. The child knows some Jedi, some Force powers. He has some Jedi training. Not enough to be a full-fledged Jedi yet, but who knows what could happen. We might see him go back with Luke at some point later on, or maybe he trains with somebody else. Maybe Ahsoka will eventually find him and train him. She didn't want to. She straight up denied it at first, but maybe she changed her mind. Who knows? The action of the episode was solid, but again, I think they focused a little bit too much on The Mandalorian. But I also feel like they kind of were tied to do that because the first 4 episodes, granted, they shot all this forever ago. So it's not like they were making it up as they went along, but it did feel like, the first 4 episodes established Boba, or tried to establish him. Then you had the 2 Mando-centric episodes, then went back to Boba, but by this point, yeah, seeing them team up was cool, don't get me wrong, but I think that Boba needs to stand on his 2 feet. Fennec had some good stuff too, when she took the mayor out. Although I will say that the revelation with the mayor and the Pikes and them all being in cahoots was a little bit... That was weird, because I felt like it wasn't really earned. It felt like there was probably a deleted scene or something, maybe an episode that got cut or something, where they discussed, where they actually foreshadowed that, or they actually went into it more. That did feel like it was maybe a bit, I don't know, almost, rushed. It felt rushed, So that was, a bit of a letdown, honestly. Like I said, they did stick the landing as far as Boba got his victory. The Pikes are gone, at least for now, and Mando got reunited with the child, with Grogu, and we saw some good Grogu stuff, so this seems to be more of a vehicle to push Mando Season 3. I don't know if season 2 of Book of Boba Fett's gonna even happen at this point. I couldn't even tell you if it is, but um, it's definitely something that was done for it. It was done for the Mandalorian show. You know, it didn't do enough for me. It was good. It wasn't great in my opinion. It was good. There were some good moments with the Black Wookiee, and then of course the mid credit scene showed who I think, and I couldn't really tell, but I think that the person in the Bacta tank was the sheriff. I don't think he's dead. I think he's recovering in the Bacta tank. So it looks like that might be him. I thought it might have originally was going to end up being the Black Wookiee, or maybe like even Din Djarin before they showed him in space. But like I thought we were going to see that, but no, it was him. So there's more to come with that character. You know, I'll be honest about this. If you're a fan of The Mandalorian, the last 3 episodes definitely were great as far as continuing that story. If you watch Mando season 3 before watching those episodes,